Okay, so when you hear Saudi Arabia, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's probably two things, right? Oil and just a ton of wealth. But behind all those glistening cities and that global power, there's this hidden critical weakness. I mean, an almost existential vulnerability. This is the story of a nation trying to, well, to challenge nature itself. And trust me, the results are absolutely staggering.
I mean, that's the central question here, isn't it? It sounds completely impossible, a total contradiction, but Saudi Arabia is actually doing it. They're turning this fantasy into a mind-blowing reality. And the story of how they're pulling it off, and more importantly, why, well, that's what we're diving into right now. So let's set the scene. Just picture a huge, vast desert. Miles and miles of nothing but silent, scorching dunes. Now, imagine rivers flowing through it, a whole network of them. But these aren't your typical rivers. Here, water doesn't flow down from the mountains. Oh no, it's being pumped up them. I mean, literally defying gravity and the way things are supposed to work. The contrast here is it's wild. Think about this. The kingdom is the largest country on Earth without a single natural river. Not one. So you have this land of almost unbelievable wealth, built on an environment that's missing the one thing essential for all life: water. That was the fundamental problem they just had to solve. So you gotta ask, why go to such extreme nature-defying lengths? Well, the answer is buried deep underground. It's this hidden treasure that, frankly, they were using up way too fast. For decades, the entire country survived by tapping into this ancient and very finite source of water. This analogy just hits the nail on the head. They were using what's called fossil water. This is water that's been trapped in deep underground aquifers for, get this, millions of years. It's completely non-renewable. Once it's gone for good. It would take ages to replenish. Basically, they were living on borrowed time. Now, this crisis didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It actually started back in the 70s with a really well-intentioned plan to grow their own wheat and be self-sufficient. But that agricultural boom, it came at a terrible price. By 2003, farming was guzzling a shocking 85% of all the water in the country. And then NASA satellites showed the terrifying truth. Those underground reserves were just disappearing. They finally shut the wheat program down in 2016, but by then, the damage was already done. Just try to wrap your head around this number. At the peak of the crisis, Saudi Arabia was using 2 trillion liters of this ancient fossil water every single year. It's a figure that's almost impossible to comprehend. All of it drained from that battery that could never be recharged. At that point, a new solution wasn't just a nice idea. It was a matter of national survival. Okay, so their only natural water source was pretty much gone. What do you do? Well, the kingdom turned to a solution that was just as audacious as it was ambitious. They decided to build the world's largest artificial river network. We're talking about a project on a scale never seen before, designed to completely remake the country's landscape. And the sheer size of it is just wow. The total length of this underground pipeline network, a staggering 12,000 kilometers. This isn't just one pipe, It's a massive countrywide circulatory system, built completely from scratch. And the amount of water it's designed to carry is just as insane. Every single day, this network can move 9.4 billion liters of fresh water. Water that's literally manufactured from the sea, and then pumped across deserts and over mountains to get to cities and farms. To really put that into perspective for you, this man-made river network is almost twice as long as the Nile River, the longest natural river on the entire planet. It's an engineering feat that's so big, it almost defies belief. It's really a testament to what's possible when you have a desperate need, incredible technology, and, let's be honest, a massive amount of money. So that brings us right back to that big question we started with. If there are no natural rivers, where on earth is all this water, all 9.4 billion liters of it, coming from? Well, the answer is in the sea. The country is bordered by it, and they're using technology to perform what is basically a form of modern alchemy, turning salt water into fresh water. Okay, the first method they use is, at its core, a pretty simple process. It's just done on a mind-boggling scale. I want you to picture massive steel tanks, like the size of football fields.
They heat the seawater, it boils, creates steam, and then that steam is collected and condensed back into pure fresh water. The salt gets left behind. It's kind of brute force, but man, is it effective for producing huge amounts of water.
Then there's the second method, which is more modern. It's called reverse osmosis, and this is where things get really fascinating. It's a technology that's actually inspired by biology. Basically, they use super high pressure to force seawater against this special polymer membrane. The pores in this membrane are so tiny that nothing gets through. Not salt, not minerals, not even a virus. Only pure H2O molecules can squeeze through this molecular sieve, leaving perfectly pure water on the other side. Pretty cool, right? And what's the result of all this tech? Well, it's a complete and total transformation of the country's water supply. Desalination now provides 2/3 of all their water. That makes them the world's largest producer of desalinated water. By far. But, every massive technological solution like this has a flip side. There are always consequences. Creating this artificial river solved one massive crisis, for sure. But it also created a brand new one. An environmental challenge that's often hidden from view, but one that absolutely has to be dealt with. So what's the hidden cost? It's the stuff called brine. For every single liter of fresh water they make, there's this super concentrated, super salty slush that's left over. And every day, this process creates 329,000 tons of this toxic waste every single day. To help you picture what that really means, that's like taking over 1,600 blue whales, the biggest animal on the planet, and dumping their combined weight into the sea daily. This isn't just a little extra salt in the water. We're talking about a massive ecological disruption. When they dump all this brine, it creates these oceanic dead zones. It raises the salinity and the temperature, and it just kills off coral reefs and marine life. So to fight this, they're coming up with some really innovative solutions. One idea is to use these deep sea diffusers to spread the brine out over a much wider area. But another idea, which is even cooler, is something called brine mining. They're looking at ways to actually extract valuable minerals like magnesium and potassium right out of the waste. Imagine that, turning a toxic pollutant into a profitable resource. When you take a step back and really look at the whole picture, this project is so much more than just a giant plumbing system. It's a huge statement about our changing relationship with the natural world. It's about the power of technology to completely redefine what we think of as our limits. But that kind of power, it comes at a pretty steep price. Just the pumping stations alone, the ones needed to push all that water uphill against gravity, they use up a massive 9% of the entire country's electricity. It's a pretty stark reminder that if you're going to defy nature, you're going to need an immense amount of energy to do it. And here's the ultimate irony in all of this. It's maybe the biggest testament to just how successful this has been. In 2027, Saudi Arabia, the country famous for having no rivers, is going to host the World Water Forum. That's the planet's most important conference on water security. They've gone from being a poster child for water scarcity to a global leader in water technology. It's incredible. So in the end, this whole project isn't really about the concrete and steel pipelines. It's a bold declaration. It says that when we're faced with what seems like an impossible natural limit, human ingenuity can find a way to forge a new path forward. But it does leave us with a really important question for our time, for the 21st century. The question isn't really, can we do these things anymore? It's, should we? What is the true cost environmentally, energetically, and even ethically of having this kind of power over nature? And is that a price we're always going to be willing to pay?